Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to the briefing on Wednesday, 24th of August. What I thought I'd do is just leave the, initially just put the midnight chart up, to show you the position of this waving front, and there was rain on it overnight out to the west, and then move it forward 12 hours to see where it's heading. And remember, it's not necessarily heading very quickly that way. I'll explain why in a second. It's more a waving front that's just sort of curving its way up here and then slowly progressing easterly. It's a sort of developing low pressure. You can see the sort of kink in it, and I suspect in the next 24 hours it will develop a low pressure out over the continent as it goes along. Isobars are fairly well spaced apart, so wind is quite light, and that's a factor all the way up to 25,000 feet. So pressure hasn't really changed from yesterday, 1016, I think it was about the same. The air's got a little bit of instability in it, so there is a chance of showers, although not being picked up by any of the TAFs around Lasham. So 197 knots, about 200 degrees, so just south of west. And the same broken at 700 feet. I think initially, yes, low cloud, a little bit like yesterday, a low cloud to start off with, and then it slowly cleared up and becoming sometime in the morning, moving up to scattered at 2,000 feet. And I think you're going to eventually have cloud base quite a bit higher than that, maybe 3.5 above sea level. So, yeah, perhaps a reasonable afternoon. The reason for the front not moving particularly quickly, the upper winds, are not particularly strong, and the direction they're coming from is up from the southwest. It's not as if they're a north or westerly upper wind that's driving the front through. So it just means it's sort of wiggling its way along and then slowly drifting easterly. So upper winds, yeah, I'd go with 200, 210, 10 knots, probably over us. Remember, that box is around about the Midlands area. This one is in the Channel, so it's sort of halfway between the two. And at 2,000 feet, it says 190 here and 220 here. So go for 210, 10 knots. I think you'll be about right. Sat pick, let's do a quick refresh on this. I haven't updated this for half an hour. You can see quite a lot. This is the brighter stuff out here. This is the rain on the front. And there's quite a lot of cloud associated prefrontal stuff, not thick, but solid enough to give sort of overcast. And it'll slowly lift up and break up, I think, as the day goes on. The rain is showing up out to the west, but it's not really the sort of the main frontal band is actually out here at the moment. This stuff, I think, will do what it sort of did yesterday and a few days ago. It comes towards us, dries out, and it slowly sort of peters out. Might get the odd spot here or there, but hopefully as the day goes on, it'll just slowly disappear. And I think you're not going to see this frontal system till late evening and overnight. Temperature wise, they're actually talking about a degree warmer than yesterday. It was about 25 degrees yesterday afternoon. So yeah, fairly warm. They're talking about 25, 26, maybe a little bit more than that. So it's getting warmer. Look at how also warm it is over the continent. That's the sort of fact that the wind is beginning to go a little bit more southerly, and it's pulling in hot air from the continent. Dew points, they're fairly high at the moment. 17s, 16s, 17s, and I think they're only going to go down to about 15 during the day, and it's about right. So sort of a reasonable temperature split. This is sort of a similar sounding to yesterday. This is the local sounding to Lasham. we've got 25 degrees with the dew point of around about 15. I should get cloud base about 3.5 eventually by sort of early afternoon. Quite a lot of cloud in here, I think. There's a good chance of some spread out at times. Not a great deal, but there's sort of 20% chance of spread out. And sort of cloud amounts, 6/8 really. Later on, perhaps drying out a little bit more, a little bit less cloud as the day goes on. I put the Lark Hill up here, although it's not particularly relevant. It gives you an idea. There are a couple of inversions about and quite a lot of moisture in this area here. So yeah, chance of spread out and cloud amounts. But those two lines during the day, if you look at the 12 o'clock one, they will pull apart and it will dry out noticeably. So top meteo, I think, is right today. It's showing low cloud patches to start off with and slowly brightening up. That's sort of at 10 to 11 o'clock. And hopefully by mid-morning, late morning, it's flyable, though with a reasonable amount of cloud. Then as the day goes on, that shows spread out and sort of 6/8 cumulus breaking up late afternoon. And the front, as you can see, still out over the Cornish coast and over Wales. So fingers crossed, won't give us a problem. Thermal heights, looking at probably becoming soarable beyond midday. That's 11 o'clock. Move it forward a couple of hours, and they're talking about 2,500, 3,000 feet by 1 o'clock round Lasham in here. And then for a couple of hours in the afternoon, up to 3,500 feet, maybe even a little bit higher. Should be quite nice. With a southerly wind, I think it's going to be better further north beyond the M4, I would have thought. And probably soarable till late afternoon, so 3 or 4 hours of soaring, but not over a great area, all the way up to Oxford and around that sort of area. The rain, as you can see, shows up there, and it's not progressing particularly towards us, even if you play it forward till sort of midnight. It just fizzles out, so not really going to be an issue. The top meteo suggested distance we're on the edge of the OK weather, so I think anywhere around this area here up towards Oxford, it should be okay for hopefully in the afternoon, 150, maybe 200k if you get launched at the right time and go to the right area. Sky sight giving a similar sort of picture. Cloud amounts, that's 11 o'clock, cloud base 500 meters, so 1,500 feet, but you move it forward a couple of hours to something like 1430, and it's picked up around Lasham and out to the northwest. You can see it's above 1,000 meters, above 3,000 feet by that time. So I think for a few hours in the afternoon should be reasonable. Certainly worth a punt. Depth of thermals. (1,100 meters) 1,100 meters above ground. So yeah, just over 3,000 feet up to 3,500 feet. It should be okay. I'm sure they'll hopefully get a task at the juniors at Keble. Okay, so better in the afternoon, soarable. Light southerly winds though. It's always a bit of a challenge getting away from Lasham, but it should be okay up towards Oxford and around that area there. Airspace wise, well, actually fairly quiet, and this almost looks like a rerun of yesterday. So nothing in the local Lasham area, as you can see. Number 22 and 25 are just high intensity radio transmissions. Nothing to worry about. 27 is the junior nationals, and 26 is a no overflight by military aircraft at night. And 32, I didn't actually look at, I missed that one. Paragliders, that's what it normally is, off one of the hills near Wantage. And beyond that, if you are going further north into this area, Hasbulls have the Women's Worlds, Grandson have a competition. 42 and 43 are just an air display and a formation aerobatics at Sywell, between 1220 and 1300 for an air display, and formation aeros 1645 to 1705, which I assume is probably the Blades doing something out of Sywell. Apart from that, it's fairly quiet airspace wise. Operationally, I'll leave that to the duty instructor who's on the field today, Barry Elliott. I suspect it's going to be 2-3 operation, but the wind's fairly light when it does perk up and they get out there. There are no jet movements. Certainly, I've not seen any flight plans filed. So fingers crossed, no jet movements or other traffic coming in. Yeah, so hopefully have a good day and make the most of it when it clears up.